Hi, and welcome to Recovered, a podcast from the Magdalen House, a recovery community for alcoholic women. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization based in Dallas, Texas, and known affectionately by many as Maggies. In this series, a recovered alcoholic woman active in our community shares her experiences from her recovery journey as she works the 12 steps to achieve sobriety and sustain recovery. With your host, me, Brehn Hanson, a recovered alcoholic and the community manager here at the Magdalen House. Whether you're in recovery yourself, contemplating giving it a try, curious about sobriety, or supporting someone who is, we are so glad that you're here. Thanks for listening. All right, happy Wednesday, listeners. Welcome to Recovered Interviews with Alcoholic Women. Today, I'm super excited about this conversation and who I get to talk to. We are going to be talking about shatter, the stigma, because April is Alcohol Awareness Month. Woohoo! So I am going to be talking with Mandy Turnbaugh today, who I just love dearly. This is going to be a super fun conversation. So let's just go ahead and dive in. Mandy, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about how you got here, what it was like.
Okay, hi. Mandy Turnbaugh, grateful recovered alcoholic. My sobriety date is 8/16 of 21, which is a miracle in itself. How did I get here? Such a loaded question.
How did any of us get here?
Alcohol, Brehn. Alcohol got me here. Actually, so I was a normal drinker until I was about 42. And that's when alcohol really took hold. So I went through a really tough breakup, and for the longest time, I was like, well, I really missed my kids. So I started drinking to numb that pain. Mm-hmm. But then it's funny, I found out that afterwards I was having fun too, because the first time in 42 years, well, actually, I wasn't trying to keep a child alive back then, but I wasn't having to keep a little person alive. So it was like, oh, good, I can go to bars and go have drinks and meet new guys and, all of that. So yes, a lot of it was because I was trying to numb the pain of not seeing my children all the time, but it was fun. Mm-hmm. And so I started drinking a lot when I had filed for divorce, and it was around COVID, when COVID hit and I got the stay-at-home orders, that I was finally like, oh, good. I can drink all day and no one knows, because I can spend a week without ever having to leave the house and just have it all delivered. So I got to where I was drinking daily. And the funny thing is I grew up around alcoholics. My mom was an alcoholic. Okay. She met my stepdad at an AA meeting. I went through Al-Anon and Alateen as a youngster, but I had never seen a big book, ever. So I saw the effects of alcohol, but I never knew what it meant to be an alcoholic. So in my mind, the alcoholic was something that was a mystery to me, even though it was my mom, and I was never going to be my mom, ever. And so I think that I may have always had the allergy, but it wasn't the mental obsession that came along with it, because I could take it or leave it. I could go a month without even thinking about alcohol. But then when I did drink it, I think it kicked that allergy in, and I was a binge drinker. So when I started drinking at home, because I didn't have to be on the road for my work, it would start at 5, and then it started getting earlier, and then it was like I did yoga on Zoom with my company, so I couldn't do it before noon, so I would do it at 1 o'clock, and then it just got to the point where I would wake up in the morning and my hands were shaking, and I had no idea what was happening. But I realized a little whiskey in my coffee cup made the shaking go away. I know, I was like, I have Parkinson's. Oh, I found the cure for Parkinson's. It's bourbon.
It's like whiskey and milk.
Right. But I had no idea.
Right.
Literally, I thought, maybe I do have Parkinson's. Maybe there's something wrong with me. And then I remembered growing up, my mom would go through and she'd be sober for a little bit. And I say sober, not recovered. And then she would fall off, and she'd end up back at the recovery center that she went to. Again, never saw a big book, ever, growing up. I didn't see it until I got here. But anyway, one night I started drinking. It was on a Friday. I woke up on Tuesday. And when I say woke up, I came to on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of evidence throughout my house that I had visitors, and I had lots and lots of alcohol. There was bottles everywhere. And I had no idea what had happened. I vaguely remember some things, but I don't. And when I say I don't know what happened, I don't mean like during that 5 days. I didn't know what happened, Brehn.
Yeah. Been there.
I didn't know how it could have happened. And so my adult son, he was 23 at the time, he showed up at my house. And I was going through the divorce, and it was really brutal. And so it was November of 2020, and my son showed up. I was detoxing really badly to the point where I couldn't go and drive and get more alcohol. And he sat down on the couch, and I remember so clearly the house was dark except for this giant Christmas tree. And I looked at my son, and he didn't say a word to me. And he just sat down next to me and held my hand. And a lot of shame was around the fact that my 23-year-old had to see his mom like that, because forever he's always told me I was his hero and I was the strongest person that he's ever known. And this divorce was killing me, but it wasn't the divorce. So he went and got a bottle of wine for me so I could get through the night. And the next morning when I woke up, he was standing in my bedroom door, and he said, "Mom, I'm going to go get some stuff." And he lived in Uptown and I lived in Salina. "I'm going to go get some stuff and stay with you for a little bit." And he said, and I'm going to choke up, sorry. He said, "But will you do me a favor while I'm gone?" And I was like, yeah, I was so broken, Brehn, but not broken enough. We'll get there. But anyway, he said, "There's this place called the Magdalen House. Will you call it while I'm gone?" I was like, absolutely. Because I still didn't know what was wrong. But I knew that there was a problem, and I knew that I couldn't stop it on my own. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know what that meant. Yeah. Right? So by the time he got to my front door, I forgot, because the Magdalen House is not the easiest name to remember, especially when...
For a drunk.
When you're detox... Oh, my detox was really bad. So by the time he got to my front door, my phone dinged, and it was a text from him with the number. And so I called. Long story short, I called. They said, "We have 2 beds available. It's first come, first serve. Get here as soon as you can." And I got here. I called him. He came back. I got a bed. But before that, and this will go into the stigma thing, before that, I called my boss. And I said, "Blank, I have a problem. I'm an alcoholic, and I really need to get help." And she said, "No, you're not. No, you're not." And I said, I am. Mm-hmm. And so that plays into the reason I was here so many times in so short of a time frame.
And how many times were you here?
4 times in 9 months. 9 months. My sponsor at the time was like, "You're going to help so many women with your story." And I was like, "God, please let my story be over." Like, is this enough? But anyway, so yeah, 4 times in 9 months. And, it's not everybody's story. You can make it through Maggie's one time and stay sober stay recovered. I shouldn't say sober, but stay recovered. But my story was just a little bit different.
Yeah.
And there's always, what she said did stick with me, because I thought for the longest time I got to Maggie so you guys could make me better.
Right.
So you could make me drink like I used to. Because 42 years, I had this beautiful relationship with alcohol where I could take it or leave it. It was my best friend, right? It got me through the tough times, and then it turned on me. Mm-hmm. And I was constantly chasing when he was my best friend, when alcohol was my friend again.
Always looking for the other problem. Mental illness.
Oh, I'm going
Him,
through divorce.
her. Yes, exactly.
I miss my kids. I mean, those were not, I hate the word trigger. Those weren't my triggers, but they were my excuses.
Right.
My drinking was caused because I have a disease, but I used any excuse I possibly could to reason it away.
Right. Well, and you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? If you've never seen a big buck, you probably didn't maybe know it was a disease.
No idea. Again, like, I saw it. I witnessed it.
Right.
And the thing is I always thought I was so resentful at my mom because she didn't love me enough to quit drinking. And I can tell you, I would jump in front of a speeding train for my children without even thinking, without hesitating. I love them so much, I would die for them. But I could not stop putting this liquid. I couldn't stop putting a liquid in my body. Not for any amount of love, not for any amount of willpower. And even after I got sober, not recovered, but sober, I still had that resentment. Which
that
is
frothy emotional appeal, right?
Never suffices.
Seldom suffices. And by frothy
right.
emotional appeal, I mean, like, you're such a great girl. Why don't, so much potential. Why can't you stop drinking? Don't you love your kids? Why can't you stop drinking? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know why I drank. I don't know why. Yeah.
So I think the podcast is picking up all the laughing downstairs from the Trader Joe's.
Makes me happy.
I know.
So much joy here.
I love that it's capturing that. We do Trader Joe's on Sunday. Right after our 11 o'clock meeting, you can come and shop all the Trader Joe's groceries. So shout out to TJ's. Thank you.
And if you want to volunteer?
Yes. Good option to volunteer. So, okay. You had said you came here 4 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you came here the first time. Is that where you learned? Were you able to concede to your innermost self that you were an alcoholic, or was it more of like a planting the seed?
Good question. So, no, I did not until I really got my step 1 at the 4th time that I was here. I didn't believe you. Like, I looked around the rooms, and my thing was I was successful in my career. I was a great mom. I never lost anything outwardly, right? I had my car, my job, my kids, my house. I had all of the things. Never got a DUI, never even got a speeding ticket. And that played a lot into my idea that I'm just going through a hard time.
Yes.
And once this hard time's over, then I'll be okay again.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be able to go to yoga and then go have mimosas with my girlfriends after.
Yep.
Like, I'll be able to do those things again. So those outward consequences, those meant something to me. And because I didn't have them at first, I didn't believe you when you told me. Plus, Brehn, I read the book. Now I know what's wrong with me. I have an allergy, so I'm just not going to drink.
Right.
I'm good. I got this. I'm a reader. I'm
just
smart.
Put the plug in the jug.
Yeah, right? Just don't drink.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do.
Totally.
And then I ended up at the liquor store without even knowing. Like, I literally closed my laptop and was in my garage, not even realizing. But then when I got there, I was like, wait. And I said, oh, wait, I'm in control, though. I'm just going to get a little bottle of vodka. I'm not going to get my normal handle. And I woke up 3 days later. A couple handles emptied on the floor. So the stigma, I wasn't like you guys. I looked around the rooms, and you guys were the alcoholics. Again, having a hard time.
Right. Yeah. I know. I mean, for me, I had a lot of external consequences by the time I got here. So it was a little easier for me to be like, yup. But I know that a lot of the stigma is an alcoholic is somebody who's lost everything, living under a bridge, weak, no willpower, not successful, just a big old bum.
Yeah.
What was the idea in your head of a quote-unquote alcoholic?
Well, I think you just summed it up. I didn't necessarily think about the bum underneath the bridge, right? I hear that a lot, but weak, right? The people that just didn't have the willpower to do what they needed to do. They were weak. They were selfish. They were just didn't care, right? So I wasn't that person. Right? And let me clarify too, I didn't have any outward consequences. I was dead inside.
Yeah.
I had disappointed and I was dead inside.
I think we focus so much on the outward, the external circumstances and consequences that we forget about the internal. I mean, I had a lot of external consequences, but it was the internal ones that were killing me.
Yeah. I can get the things back.
Right.
It takes a lot of time. Like, look, Ma, the wind stopped blowing, right? So I step out of that tornado shelter and I'm like, well, I didn't drink today. Everyone forgive me.
Yeah.
Right? But it doesn't happen like that.
No.
It takes a lot of time. The stuff I can get back.
Yeah.
But the relationships that I damaged, those take a long time to heal.
Yeah. And I think that, like, alcoholism doesn't discriminate. Right? Because, like, for you, I think a lot of the times, like, I didn't start drinking till I was 18. And I consider that a late bloomer.
You were so old.
It was so...
Wait, could you buy it?
No, but, you know, for you, it didn't, like, the allergy per se or the mental obsession didn't really kick off until later in life, right? You had had a successful career, a family, established, but yet alcoholism caught up with you.
Yeah.
Are you or someone you love struggling with the inability to stop drinking? At the Magdalen House, we believe that education about alcoholism and recovery is crucial to helping more alcoholic women and their families recover. Our staff is available to provide speakers to the public who will discuss the disease of alcoholism, how to help someone who may be struggling, and more available resources. To request a speaker, please visit our website at magdalenhouse.org/resources and education.
Yeah, so, and that, I held on to that, Brehn. And I think, again, 4 times in 9 months, because anything I could hold on to prove that I wasn't like you guys,
Yep.
I held on to.
Yep.
So I went through grad school, and 10 months of that grad school obliterated. Like, I have the piece of paper. Don't know if the education's there.
Don't know how I got there.
But I got my master's. Like, I held on to everything. Like, back in 1989, but like back I was the DD and I only had 2 glasses of wine. I must not be an alcoholic. I made it 78 days. My liver's healed. I'm not really an alcoholic. Oh, girl, I'm an alcoholic. And the thing is I would hold on to anything I could, because I didn't want to be one, because that stigma, right? There's so much stigma against or around mental health. And then when you told me that this was a mental illness, no, let's not say that out loud, right? And so I was very ashamed. I felt like I was weak. I felt like, because you did tell me about the allergy, but I'm allergic to something else. And I realized that if I blow up a balloon or I go to the dentist and latex touches my mouth swells, I can get behind that because I see the physical, right? It shows up. So I can get behind that. But when you tell me that I have an allergy to alcohol, like, no, I don't. I don't break out in hives. My throat doesn't close up. I can't get behind that because I can't prove it out. Right? And so, and it's funny because I work with so many women now who are like, I can't explain to my family why. Like, they don't understand. And I was like, honey, it took me about a year to understand.
Right.
And it was happening to me. And I still couldn't understand it.
Totally. So that last time.
The last time
What?
I got my step 1.
Yeah. What was that step 1 experience that really had you?
So I made it to 78 days, and I was working with other women, and I was doing all the things outwardly so you could see that I was working a program, but I wasn't praying. I wasn't building that spiritual connection. The thing that keeps me recovered and happy, my solution, I wasn't doing it. But I was showing up, and I didn't want to lie, so I was fake 10-stepping. I was doing all of the things outwardly.
Looking good.
And I'm all about.
Yep.
Like, give me my A+. I'm not going to do it if I can't get an A+. This I had to do. So, okay. So I was dating a guy who was like, I don't want to drink in front of you. I don't want to drink in front of you. And I was like, babe, I'm good. I'm spiritually well. You can put vodka in front of me. I'm not going to drink it. But if I'm spiritually sick, I'm going to find it in the desert 50 miles from here. That arrogance, right? That cockiness that we talk about in the 10th step. Yeah. Oh, it was so there.
We were neither cocky nor were we afraid.
Yeah, we were just neutral,
right?
That
middle ground.
So I went into the store to get him his 6-pack of IPA that he liked. And I saw wine was on sale, 3 for $10. I was like, oh, good deal. That's cheap. And I grabbed 3 of them. And before I even got to my car, I had one open. And the book talks about that mental blank spot.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I didn't want to drink. It was in my mouth, like in my body. I drank for 3 days. So I drank that night, and then I didn't drink again for a week.
So you're like, oh.
Brehn, I'm cured. Yeah. My liver is good. I started drinking again, and it was like just 3 days. And I had been drinking so much so quickly that I could not keep anything down for 24 hours. I tore my esophagus and my uvula swelled to twice its size. I ended up in the hospital for 3 days. I almost died from drinking. My blood alcohol, I couldn't keep anything down. So my body had processed alcohol for 24 hours. My blood alcohol level when I got to the hospital was 0.398.
Wow. And that was 3 days of drinking.
That was 3 days of drinking. And it was so, gosh, it was awful. So I was in the hospital for 3 days and I was so ashamed because I was getting an A+ in recovery. How could I drink? How could I drink? I was doing the thing. So I told the nurses and the doctors, like, do not let anyone in here. If anyone calls for me, I don't want, like, I was just so ashamed. My boyfriend was going to come and pick me up from the hospital and take me to Maggie's, bring me back, because you guys, God bless you, you guys let me come back again. And I'm so grateful for that. But I called him and I was like, because of COVID, you can't come up here until they release me. I got in an Uber and I went to Walmart to get my prescription. Air quotes. Yeah.
Yep.
And it wasn't called in yet, so I just went and got wine because why not? I literally, my hands were swollen so big from the IVs where they were pumping Ativan and all of these detox meds into my body because I was going to die. I got back to my apartment and started packing, and I knew I had about 45 more minutes. I chugged everything that I had bought. I called another Uber and I went to the liquor store and I bought 2 bottles of vodka and a 10-pack of airplane bottles of Tito's because I knew I wasn't going to drink again, so I needed to get it, right? I needed to do everything at once. And
Last hurrah.
My step 1 was that I stood in my doorway of my bedroom after chugging 6 glasses of wine, and I chugged an entire bottle of vodka. While I was doing it, trying to pull it away from my mouth and crying, I realized I was drinking against my will. It doesn't matter that I have the job, the car, the house, the kids. It doesn't matter.
Yes. I
was drinking against my will. I finally believed you. I finally believed in I heard someone say in my toenails, like in the depths of my soul, that I had zero power. And I sat here for 14 days and I cried every meeting to the point where one chair was like, do you need to step out? And I knew, Brehn, I was going to leave after 14 days and I was going to drink. And for me to drink is to die.
That's powerful, step 1.
Thank goodness.
Right? Because you're here.
I'm
like
here.
18 months later.
So crazy.
Recovered.
Happy, recovered.
Right.
Living life in, it's beautiful.
Happy, joyous, and free.
Now, and I'm not saying that stuff doesn't still happen, but I have this solution that gets me through it.
Life is still life.
It's beautiful, though. Yeah.
We're still going to go through those ups and downs, but, like, thank God.
Literally.
For this I was just going to, like, literally. Thanks God. We have a toolbox.
Yes.
A super useful toolbox.
Yes.
So when you were here, because we're talking about stigmas, right? And having that stigma of, like, I'm not an alcoholic, and here's why. Is there anything that you experienced here at the Magdalen House that kind of helped you yourself shatter those stigmas?
Yeah. Ooh, good question. Okay, so a lot in AA we say, I'm Mandy and I'm an alcoholic. There was one woman who said, I am Lisa Kroenke.
Yep.
And I am a recovered